What is up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. We are back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you get actionable insight, ideas, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. Had other things on my mind, apparently. I don't know what else is more important than this, because, Greg, we're going off to Neverland. This is the show where you never have to grow up, because this is a place where we get to have fun and talk about real estate and success and all kinds of things with some of our favorite people in the world. And we have an amazing repeat guest with us. Dr. Debra Dupree is here. You guys might be familiar with her from some of her other repeat appearances on the show, as well as the Introvert's Guide to Success, Sales Success, that we put together with Dr. Debra. And so we're going to talk about some really cool stuff today. We're going to talk about authentic networking, how to have great follow-up conversations off of that, how to connect with people in your conversations so your conversations actually convert into relationships that turn into sales. So we've got a lot of stuff to dive into, as always, on the show. When do we not have a lot to talk about? The Junior Grandmaster, Greg McDaniel.
What up, Johnson Face? Hey, buddy. It is Friday, and it is a
Johnson Face.
The Johnson Face. Yes. Hold on. We're gonna do this. Hashtag Johnson Face. Hashtag Matt. Hashtag podcast. Hashtag Friday. Okay. Now I got that over with. But okay, so
I think that joke is so old it might actually be retro now.
I know, that's the funny part about it. I can actually be funny for once.
Yeah.
But I was just talking to my friend Stevie, who's shooting with HGTV, her episode right now. Super cool. Knuckles to you, Stevie, if you ever see this episode. But she gave me a really cool tip about a camera, so you guys can have your cell phone like this, right? And a lot of times you don't have good light. Like I have a light here. Matt has lights. Deborah has lights. But this is a ring light that goes around like this. It's $12, usually $75. I'll put the link in here for you guys to go buy. She shot a video on it today, and it did a perfect job of lighting her up. So if you guys are thinking about doing video on the go, I'll put two links in for you guys who will listen to the podcast. PM me and I'll get you the link. And I'm going to put the Smart Lav for good audio for a good microphone, and then this ring light for good light. So really, I'm starting off the day on a good tip, man. And we're starting off a predictive analytics that we're getting delivered today for our first beta test. Super excited. I'm like kid in a candy shop. I'm going to Neverland, like I said when we got going on the show.
Good. Well, I'm glad you have so many wonderful things to talk about. But how about you shut up for a second? Let's bring in our special guest. Debra, how are you today?
Really good. I love being back on the air with you guys. It's so great. I mean, I laugh so much. It brings happiness to my soul.
We're just glad you have the patience to stand.
Yes, we are.
Oh, so just quickly remind people of what you do, and then we'll get into maybe some of the things you've been up to lately. But people will be familiar with you from you coming on to our show, and you have a background in everything from therapy to working with corporate teams and helping build relationships and things like that. Just kind of give people a little bit of background on you, how you got to be where you are today.
Well, thanks, Matt. I appreciate you asking. I would say, to sum it up, I really try to help people find their voice. And I say that because at a time when I grew up, I was the end of a large family of 9 kids. And so we were to be seen and not heard. And so, and so I realized as I got older, I really didn't know how to articulate what was going on in my head. I didn't know how to articulate my emotions. And I certainly was fascinated with the dynamics of human behavior. Certainly in the family of 9, with the family-owned business running too, we saw lots of lost dreams, broken promises, damaged relationships, and really dispirited people. And so I really, really thrive in working with people through coaching. Yes, I do some therapy, but not so much of that. I do a lot more coaching one-on-one, as well as teamwork. I also do a lot of mediation. I was just telling Greg before we got on that I had 7 speaking stages this week in all kinds of environments.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
She's a bit tired.
Keeping busy. Wow.
Well, actually, this one would be at my 8th. So.
Yeah.
And we're glad to be that round 8, the infinity sign, because we're never letting you go. You're always coming back to us, okay?
Oh, man. Okay. So let's start here. Let's talk about a little bit of authentic networking, right? Because this is, networking is something that, except from, I don't know, maybe the most extroverted, self-confident people that have just built up that reservoir of confidence that they can walk into any situation and just kind of make friends. I think for everybody outside of that group, networking can be a little everything from off-putting to just causing a little bit of anxiety or discomfort, all the way to socially paralyzing, maybe to the point where they don't do it at all. And it's something that doesn't matter, like what level you're at. It doesn't matter whether you consciously use it for business or not. Like the skills are transferable to all kinds of situations. So I'd love to get your take on it. How do you look at, let's just start with how you look at it for yourself and your own business. What do you do in terms of networking, and how does it play out for you just in your own life?
Well, I think it's first important, in our past conversations we've had, we talked a lot about DISC and understanding your communication style.
Mm-hmm.
And we also talked about how you can use that information around communication styles by looking for clues in other people. And so, it really starts with having that good, deep understanding of self and what makes you tick and what makes you thrive and what kinds of things trigger you, what kinds of things turn you off. And so having that sense of self is really a starting point, because otherwise we can walk into situations feeling awkward and uncomfortable no matter what skill level we are.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, Greg, we've in working with the agents in our mastermind crew, we're getting a little bit into that, just getting into realizing that once you start really committing to goals, and you start committing to activity levels or a certain level of effort, and you really commit to that level of effort, like it starts to uncover some of the things that you talked about, Deborah, where you start to have to really get to know yourself better, and your self-awareness starts to expand because you're all of a sudden confronting failure. And a lot of us don't like to confront failure in any form, but we definitely don't like to confront failure when it's a direct reflection on our performance. And that's just a brief example, but so I'm kind of fascinated with just that process of like self-awareness. And just the personal development challenges that come with growing a business. But so Greg, for you, I'm curious. I mean, you've been doing networking with Rockstar Connect and holding events essentially where you're putting your database into a room with you. How do you think of networking when you walk into an environment like that?
My first networking event, I was actually pretty nervous to tell you the truth. I to the point where, a lot of people who hear this will probably think I'm full of shit, but I'm really not. Like, I was almost paralyzed walking into that group of people to talk to them on two fronts. One, I didn't give a shit about what they had to tell me, and the guy who wanted to talk to me had horrible breath. That was a horrible scenario. He's like this close to me. He's like, "Hi." I'm like, "Oh, you're melting flowers with every breath you exhale, sir." And
melting flowers.
They just wilted and turned dead. But I was also nervous because I didn't know if I had any value to bring, because again, I was the real estate agent, and that stigma still, it's something that I fight with on a consistent basis. Like, hey, what do you do? I'm a real estate agent. Then it's like that awkward, like, oh fuck, he's gonna try to sell me. Oh really? How's the market? As they slowly do the backstab.
Man.
What I did is I just stayed at the front. I just, had a couple of cocktails, stayed at the front, met people, and let them come to me not go to them. But I've since got over that, and I now are approaching people. And what I'm doing in the networking events, now that I kind of found my cadence and my rhythm, is that I will sit at the front for the first 3/4 of the event, get the cards, figure out who needs to talk to who, and then as people come in, I'm like, you know what, Matt, Deborah's over there. I think you would have a lot in common with her. Let me do this. Let me introduce you to her really quickly. So that allows me not to have to sit there and talk to you, but it also engages you with someone that you might have a good connection with. Therefore, you'll find value in my networking event.
That's
and
really
then
good.
people really have a really good time doing it, and there's been some really solid connections made at these events so far. And guys at Rockstar Connect, if you guys are looking to do events, dude, you got to reach out to me. Nick is my boy over there. I'll connect you with him. It's the best freaking money you've spent, because it's literally a party in the box. They send you everything. It's a party in the box, guys. It's a lot of fun.
So Deborah, let's talk about like how to have those types of conversations that end in, something where you can provide some value. Because I think that's a big part of a lot of people's insecurity with going into networking environments, is just not quite knowing what their value is to the other person or the other people that they might meet. So how do you go in and have like a kind of an authentic conversation that leads to something like that? So what are your first steps when you think of going in and just having a conversation cold with somebody that you don't know anything about them, they don't know anything about you? What's your goal, and what's your initial steps in a conversation like that?
Well, I think one thing, whenever you look at networking events, because there are so many opportunities out there, is to really be clear on what's your purpose, and how does this particular networking event tie to your purpose, and so that you are not just running after events, but having some, being drawn to events where they're likely to be people where you have a common goal in mind, for example. So having that purpose is important. It's sort of like what you were talking about earlier with goals. The other thing then is have some intent in terms of how many people are going to meet tonight. And so set out with a goal that I'm going to make connections with at least 3 or maybe 5, or maybe it's 10, but have some goal about really connecting more deeply with, 3 to 5 people, for example. And one of the key things too is people will feel more connected to you when you have more of a giver approach than a getter approach or a taker approach.
Yeah.
And so really ask some sincere, open-ended questions about, to inquire further, diving below the waterline, as I like to call it, about, what brings them here? What do they hope to achieve out of attending today? Find out more of what their why is or their purpose, and sort of resonate around that. And that can actually help them lead to what Greg was talking about, them making connections with other people. And in that way, you're the connector among people as you get to know people.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And Greg, going back to your networking event, I was just kind of in our conversations about like how to make them even more effective and just kind of increase like the interaction among people that are there. Debra, you're talking about like having a common goal. If there's anything that I think we could probably do a better job of with your networking events, Greg, is the frame and the context of why people are there. And I would love to talk this out a little bit if you don't mind.
Sure.
So the context under which people are showing up to your networking event is to network with other, how would you phrase it? Professionals? Is it to grow each other's business? Business to business, right?
Business owners, professionals, local folks, anybody that's looking to expand their reach in the local area that they're in. And if you guys are sitting there going, well, I don't know where to find networking events, guys. I was just watching Social Media Examiner this morning. So you'll see my phone here. You see that little thing down here? This is Facebook local, so facebook.com/local. Guys, it identifies, you can identify networking events, restaurants, theater, all kinds of things that are happening hyper local to you, and you can build your own calendar to it. So go take a look at it. So this is like local events and stuff that are taking place here. So this is a way for you guys to find stuff to go network into in a local environment. But yeah, I mean, you're right, Matt. I think that what we do need to do is we need to put a better frame around it, like Orrin Cleff's, his whole framing thing. Frame it, put a big, strong frame around it so it attracts other people. Other people won't collapse your frame. If you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, go read Orrin's book. You'll understand it real quickly. But that's one of the things that someone brought up to me. They used to come to my events with me, and she was like, "Well, Greg, there needs to be more of a defined reason why to go there." Because when I would sit at the front, this is what they would say. So what's the point of this? Like, are we what are we doing? I'm like, get a cocktail, homie, and just get some free food and chill. And they're like, oh, okay. But that needs to change.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and Debra, you can attest to this. Like, I think we way underestimate sometimes how much most people, I would say, want to be led and are looking for a leader.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, go back to your 4 communication styles. There are people who naturally step forward and others who naturally follow. And so, if you give them a purpose, then you give them, some benefit of what they might gain from this, then that really starts to speak to different kinds of people. Because, our time's pretty valuable. I mean, there's a lot of demands on how we spend our time. And, particularly, I know in driving around in Southern California, San Diego, I'm reluctant to get out there when I know traffic's going to be heavy because that's just more of my time. So by the time I get to an event, I'm already a little tired, and so, doing things in a way that really serves your purpose and saves your energy is really key. So I like the idea about framing the event more specifically. Really tell them what value there, what benefits can they get from it.
Yeah,
exactly.
the benefit that I got from what Rockstar does for us is that, for me, the agent side, what they're doing is that they are giving me an opportunity to go network with people, and not have to put any effort into it. So for me, their business prop is very clear. What I need to do on my side more effectively, like Matt and Deb, what you're saying is, make there be a reason for people to show up. So maybe $100 gift card raffle giveaway. Maybe there is, I don't know, something. There has to be some sort of sticky there, so people will be attracted to it. And I'll work with Nick and everyone over there to kind of tweak it on our side. I'm kind of like, Matt and I are kind of like, we're the canaries in the coal mine. We figure out what's going on. As soon as we figure it out, then we die. Like, oh, there it is.
Wait, we figure it out and then we die. I wasn't informed of this. When did I agree to be the canary in the coal mine?
Well, not you, me.
Oh, okay. But here's one other thing we might be able to add into your networking events, Greg, and then anybody else if they wanted to start up like a meetup group. So Paul Franklin has a great comment here. He says meetup.com. He found a twice a month networking breakfast for business people. Those can be great if they're framed right and the people show up with the right intention. And anyway, but one of the things that we could potentially do with your networking events, Greg, and anytime we go into, like, let's say we're working with Rockstar Connect to start doing real estate themed events for real estate agents, right? So a little bit of a twist on their typical type of event, but we're basically taking the same model, same type of event, but we want to, meet with you guys essentially. So we're going to start doing those events all throughout our main 5 markets in California. But one of the things we're going to do is we're going to partner up with somebody that we know on the ground there that's a local influencer in that space. And Greg, I'm betting that you're probably, like, the event that you're running right now is built around you. I bet if we reached out to 3 or 4 or 5 other very influential, kind of young, social media savvy, connected people in your space that are just in different industries, and we got them involved in your networking event, they would bring their crowd, but also the fact that you could frame the event as a way for you to meet other well-connected, influential, like, local influencers, essentially. Like that would give people a specific reason, like, hey, come on out, you're going to meet these 4 people that all have, combined social media audiences of 100,000 plus people or 200,000 plus people, come out and connect with the connectors.
Yeah, you could easily do that. You can use Coop Out maybe as your first line of attack. Go out with coopout.com. I'll put the link in here, guys, and that's where you can go to local businesses and create coupons for them, and then post them on the social media. The store or vendor will get alerted when you do that. So they'll have the law of reciprocity will kick in. So, hey, you're helping promote them. Hey, come support me. It could be very much a give and get relationship from all the different people in the local community. And you can also use a celebrity factor. Debra, I want to hear your opinion on this. But if you use the celebrity factor, hey, the mayor is going to be here. The chief of police is going to be here. A local athlete, a local, like, I don't know, somebody, pick someone that's got some pull to them, then ride their shoulders, stand on their shoulders for more of a reach out to their people, but then have them show up to the event. I mean, there's all different types of ways to get people to these things. Debra, your take on that? I know you do a lot of speaking.
Yeah, I do. And so there are a couple of thoughts, if I may share a couple ideas here then, is that, I'll come back to the celebrity thing, but one of the things I was thinking about is that if you, asked your potential participants, who do they want to meet? What kinds of people do they want to meet? Where do they want to get an invitation or an opportunity to meet somebody in the business? So that might be a way of sort of targeting people that you would then have speak, or devise things within your networking event where people then can connect with those kinds of people, and sort of that 6 degrees of separation, looking at how you can create warm connections to the people that they want to meet. So that was one idea. Yeah. And then the other thing that was sort of percolating in my head as you were talking then is around that celebrity kind of thing, is that knowing the kinds of topics that the people are most interested in hearing and learning, is having a speaker for 10 or 15 minutes that can speak specifically to that, not to be selling, but to educating, informing, again, what's the benefit that people would get by coming and hearing that kind of person. So again, a win-win speaker as well as for what people can learn.
So, Debra, you don't know it yet, but I'm going to hijack you. I'm going to fly you to Northern California, and you're going to be my celebrity speaker, okay? It's going to be like
Don't
worry. I'm going to send the Lear for you. Well, it'll be down there, no problem.
That's right. I just land right on Coronado for you. Well, I was thinking that too, Greg. It'd be cool to do like TED style talks. Like if you got 3 or 4 like influencers together and just said like, hey, just stand up for 5 minutes and give like your best, what's the most unexpected, helpful piece of information, tip, tactic, strategy, or whatever that you think you could share with other young professionals and entrepreneurs. And just no more than 5 minutes. You have no more than, like Debra said, like 20 minutes, and maybe 3 or 4 of those back to back would be enough. It kind of breaks up, like it would break up the evening at a networking event. It gives somebody like, it gives something like to look forward to that the evening is structured around. Everybody kind of comes together, gathers, does that, but it's not long enough to lose people's attention and make them bored, and then scatter. But it kind of puts people up in the spotlight. And it gives the rest of the people there somebody to go talk to. Like, hey, that was awesome. Like, I really appreciate what you had to say. I'm going to go do that right now. And so like everybody can break off and like talk to the person that like resonated with them. I think that might really amp up the quality of the events. Yeah,
I'm looking. Of course, I'm on Amazon. All of a sudden, you're like, oh, good idea. I need PA system. I found a PA system with a mic and a headset with a belt with a little bit of a microphone, enough to carry in a smaller environment. You don't need like a pro setup, but it's $100. You can carry it.
Yeah. Well, Debra, let's get back to you and dive deeper into to conversations. So let's talk about PCI. So how do you have a conversation with PCI?
You mean, why don't you say what PCI is first so that our listeners know?
Purpose, clarity, and intention.
Yeah. Well, I think we sort of addressed purpose before, that it's important. Again, we identify what's my purpose, and what's my purpose of connecting with these people. How will I benefit them? How will they benefit me? And so again, Greg talked about the law of reciprocity kicking in, and that's a very natural piece of human condition. Is you got to give to get back, and I always like to say, because I deal so much with people in conflict too, you better watch what you give. You might just get it back. So.
Yeah, Greg.
Hey, fight me. Hey, I give love and generosity and kindness. And I give to the small children and needy animals. What do you do, Johnson?
Yes. Hey, I gave to I don't know, St. Jude's the other day. Like I tacked $1 onto my order somewhere, I think.
It's because they made you at Safeway. It's like, add $1. No, add $1. No, add $1. Okay, fine. Here's a fucking $1. Can I have my groceries back now, please?
That's right. Like the no button doesn't work on the donation section.
Fine, click. Swear to God, you should be wearing a mask.
That's funny.
It really went off the radar with purpose there, didn't it?
We did, yeah. So let's talk. Let's talk about clarity. So how do you have clarity around a conversation? Clearly, we don't have any of that here, but we're trying.
Well, I'm going to go back to communication styles again because, again, a couple of the styles are just naturally clear about what they're going to do. They stay very sort of single focused, whereas a couple of the styles, are sort of overwhelmed almost with ideas and details and things like that. And so that's another thing as far as going into a networking event with authenticity is being clear about what is it that you want to communicate, whether it's your 30-second elevator speech or just how do you describe what you do, and what are some good questions that you can open up a conversation with people that you want to connect. So it's about being clear, both in your message, but also being clear in how you approach people. And so having a plan really helps achieve that clarity. And because when we have that, we're actually influencing how our brain works, and we are able to then remember and deliver with greater purpose, compassion, and intention when we have a plan. And quite honestly, I talked about clues, and that our eyes really portray a lot about our state of our inner brain, our inner mind. And so if we're not clear, it actually shows up in our eyes, and we then tend to come across perhaps with less credibility, less believability. And so being that clear, intentional kind of person is important as you prepare to go into those kinds of events.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's one of the things that we always talk about, like, hey, how to prepare for open houses, listing appointments, CMAs, buyer appointments, consultations, all these things, right? But one of the things that I find myself falling short on is having clarity before going into the event. So I'm like Matt can attest to this. I'm like a puppy running down the hallway. I'm all paws and ears, usually tripping over my ears, hitting with my paws and landing smack on the hardwood floors, but my feet are still moving. I'm not going anywhere. I'm so excited to be there, but because I have no clarity on what I'm trying to do. So I think that that's something that we all need to be, really take to heart. And I love what you talked about your eyes. I mean, how you're feeling about your clarity comes through your eyes. Can you walk us
Absolutely.
through that? I mean, how can give us an example of not being clear and being clear? Like, what would that look like physically when in the eyes?
Well, so let's say I just walk into an event, and some of us are much better just walking in cold and pulling it off. But quite honestly, when you walk in cold like that, it's sort of like, okay, what am I going to expect here? And so your eyes might be a little bit wider open, and they're sort of darting back and forth or flitting back and forth. And so, sort of scanning. And so you just don't look as, is that the kind of person I want to approach? You might actually be triggering some people not approaching you.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so one really good technique that anybody can benefit from, because we already do it, we just don't always do it very well, is to actually engage in 3 or 4 deep breaths before you enter into a situation, because then that does calm down the heart, slows down the breathing, but also slows down the brainwave activity, which influences the clarity of the eyes.
Wow. Goodness. That's a really
Really?
good tip. Yeah, well, I've never heard it connected to the eyes. That's like everybody says, yeah, like, take a couple of deep breaths, but it's interesting how it affects the entire, not just our internal physiology so that we feel it, but it affects it to the point where other people can tell and changes the vibe that we give off to other people. That's really interesting.
That
Yeah,
is.
and I'll just add one thing. Well, I'll just a little bit of the science, if I may,
Yeah.
because what we see, 55% of how we communicate is by what we see. Our optical nerves actually pass right by our emotional brain, the limbic brain, before it gets to the occipital lobes back here. And so if we're sort of, emotionally charged or not clear in our thinking, that's where the disruption of the neural pathways ends up, and the state of our limbic brain actually impacts then the clarity of the neural pulses.
God, I love having you on this show.
Yeah, fantastic. So there's a couple of specific occasions where I can see this coming up, and that lack of clarity showing through in the eyes, like really sabotaging like a new relationship with a client. And I want to step out of the networking context a little bit and put this in the context of like an actual meeting with a potential client, right? So Greg, we've got, what's up?
Or dating.
We're dating? No, it's not where I was going, but okay. I mean, 98% of the rest of the time I'm always talking about dating, but no, just not this time. Good Lord, Greg. Anyway, no, I was thinking about, like, there's those instances where the potential client will ask us something and we're not 100% clear on it, usually because of some insecurity, like we're hesitant to commit to something, like hey, can you get can we get the house on the market by Sunday? And then in that moment, right, because we don't have our systems down, we don't have clarity. Yeah, they can see it in our eyes right off the bat that we're not clear on how we can do that. Now they ask the next person, or if we had handled it better, we know exactly what to do. We know exactly what our process is. We have clarity around it. Yes, absolutely. We can get the house on the market by Sunday. Like, there's a whole different like physiological dynamic, and I can totally see that showing up in the eyes. The other place I think that shows up a lot, and Greg, you and I have worked on this with people in the Getting Out Business course, is really getting clear on who your ideal client is. Because when you're in those conversations that could potentially turn into a referral, but you can't clearly explain who you want to be referred to, like you lose the power and the opportunity of that moment.
Yeah.
So that having clarity around exactly who you want to work with is a big part of that. And Debra, I'm sure that shows up for you, when somebody asks you, like, how can I help you? Well, if you've got 5,000 things going on, you're going to have that moment where you're like, okay, what do I ask them for? Like, what do I know? But if you have like one focus in your business, like, hey, I want to speak more. That's the bottom line. I want to speak in front of people that need to hear my message, right? And here's who they are, right? You have absolute clarity on that. So I'm just curious on your perspective on that, on how people can get clear on some of those things.
Yeah. One thing, before I answer that question, I want to go back to another benefit of deep breathing before you go into a situation.
Mhm.
And that, again, another aspect that can reflect our lack of clarity and centeredness, because we're talking about being authentic,
Mhm.
is that it can come out into the tonal quality of our voice. And so 38% of how we communicate has nothing to do with what we're saying. It's about our tone, volume, and inflection. Okay.
Yeah.
And so by deep breathing, you're actually relaxing the muscles around your vocal cords and allowing your voice to deepen and resonate better. And you can remove some of that anxiousness or nervousness that comes out from shallow breathing.
Yes, and I do a lot of I know Matt does box breathing in the morning. I go through meridian tapping, breathing in, breathing out, releasing different energy flows, and it really does calm me. It really does get me to a better state. Matt, with your point, I want to go back to the eyes really quickly and how we can be portrayed through our eyeballs. I was at a listing appointment that, for the 2.3 that I got referred. And the guy I was with, there's two brothers. It's a trust sale. Well, there's three brothers, but one of them's a douchebag. He lives in Hawaii. We don't like him. We don't talk about him. But we really don't. His name was Rock. That's his first name, not a nickname. But I was talking with the other brother that I hadn't met before. And he asked me a very, very pointed question about another agent. And I gave him a very direct answer, and I looked him dead in the eyes, and he knew I wasn't messing around. He stopped, and you could tell him I knocked him off of his rhythm a little bit, because I hit him with something that not most people would say about this other individual, and it was true, and he knew it. And then he said, "Well, how fast can you get up on the market?" And I'm like, "We need 5 to 7 days max, depending on how fast you can move, but our team can move within 5 days." And he was just like, "Damn, okay."
Wow.
Because there was certainty in my voice, and I looked him dead in the eye. I wasn't like Debra, you're saying. I wasn't all scrambled eggs all over the place. I was right there. I was present, and he felt it. And I called the other brother back that I had met the 2 days before, and he's like, "Dude, my brother really liked you. He doesn't like a lot of people. He's really impressed by you." I'm like, "Good, man. I liked him too." And I'll sign the paperwork. Press hard. There's 3 copies. Let's go.
Press hard. There's 3 copies.
You're still doing that?
Oh my god! Exactly. Oh my god, that's funny.
But Matt, you asked a question, about what people can do to better prepare, and I guess one of the things I'm hearing as I hear both of you speak is that I'm wondering if sometimes maybe not just in your line of work, but if sometimes we might be rushing in too quickly with an answer before we clearly understand the why of the
Well, us high D's would never do that. I don't know what you're talking about, Deborah. I think we should just move on past 6 seconds, because it's clearly not going to be of value to anyone.
No.
When Greg, if you listen to me and Greg talk, it's probably like, especially just me and him one-on-one behind the scenes, I guarantee you it has a Gilmore Girls quality to it, because we're just beating each other to the punch as far as where it's going, and trying to get there first.
I'm surprised you actually know what Gilmore Girls is, buddy. That's what I'm worried about.
I'm
not saying I've watched it. I'm just saying other people have.
Backpedal, player.
Yeah, but people do tell you a lot about who they are.
What, by the TV shows we watch?
Oh.
Well, I can give everyone the shortcut hint. I am Ted from How I Met Your Mother. How's that? That's all you need to know about life.
Oh man, I love this show.
Well, let me go back to what I was, talking about then, is that, sometimes, like if somebody said, can you get the house on the market by Sunday? Maybe you know this, or maybe you don't already, but asking, well, what's important to you about getting it on the market by Sunday? What would that help achieve? What would you hope to accomplish? All of those are open-ended questions, starting with a what.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, we had the great Joel Rico was on the show here a few days ago, and that's one of the things that we talked about with him. That was a phenomenal episode. He's an NLP master, but that's one of the things that he talks about is, really digging, and Greg, you've talked about going 3 deep. But that was a great way, like when you have that moment of not, like, you don't have clarity around something, instead of answering, ask. Like the automatic reaction should just be ask. Joel gives this great example of the ultimate objection, which is, well, we really feel like we need to go with the female real estate agent. He's like, how do you handle, like, I'm not going to get an operation, so like, how do you handle that objection? Well, so he goes on to ask them 3 questions, and he walks out with a signed agreement, right? Because that was his first reaction, was to handle it by asking them, well, oh, that's really interesting. What's important about that to you? So yeah, I love that as kind of like, hey, if there's a default way to handle something where you're not clear, is just to immediately throw it back on them and just ask them what's important about that to them. That's a great approach.
Yeah. And I'll share with you another phrase that's also very powerful, because I'm sure we all experience this, is that when somebody says something that you're not quite sure what to do with it, and rather than going, what, scrunching up your face and so forth, simply say, you pause and say more about that.
Yeah, that's a great one. I think I used that twice this morning on my call with Pasquale.
Go deeper on that. Help me understand your thought pattern on this. No, go deeper. Seriously, I have no fucking clue where you're going with this. You just use small words. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Pasquale.
Yeah, well, when we're looking at a spreadsheet with 4 different tables on it, it's called a lock-on report. Greg, you'll be amused by this if I show you the back end of this. And we're talking about how this column over here of tracking someone's performance on a daily and weekly basis relates to this column over here and the ratios and all this stuff. And yeah, it's one of those moments where you're like, say more about that? Okay. Hang on. I got to give my brain time to catch up with you.
Because you think you're intelligent. All of a sudden, you're like, I feel like a 3rd grader in a college class right now.
Oh, it's so true.
What's going on? Oh, hey, I just heard from Gene. Gene's going to pop in at the last 15 minutes and do his little piece because I'm a mental midget and I totally forgot to bring him in. Sorry, Gene. My bad. My bad, buddy. Much love.
Oh man. Okay. So in the remaining time that we have left, Debra, I want to talk about how do you let's say you kind of come out of the networking event and you've, like most people, you come out with a stack of cards and maybe some good conversations, right? But then you have to really take the next step. How do you turn those into conversations or how do you pitch someone on having like a follow-up conversation that will really be valuable to them?
Well, actually, that starts while you're still talking to the person, because we can all get caught, and it's like, oh, what was the connection there, and so that's why I say really target 3 or 5 that you really want to get to know and have that conversation. But by knowing more about what they're looking for, now you can sort of find a hook, shall we say, that gives you something more meaningful to follow up on. So like maybe offering gosh, I know so-and-so, and would you be interested in me making an introduction? And so now you've got some connection that you can come back and build off of. Because I'm sure we've all been in a situation, I know I have, where you've gotten cards and so forth, and then you reach out, and then nothing ever happens again. You don't have any connection other than just meeting. And so trying to find that deeper connection in the moment, now it gives you something like, hey, I've got a really good article. I'd love to send it to you. Let's connect after this. Or I know so-and-so who might be very helpful to you around this. And, you want a connection to that? Well, I've got a couple connections that might get us to that. How about we work together and how that unfolds?
I actually did that twice yesterday. I connected my brother with somebody, and then I connected my buddy Andrew Graham with my buddy Hank. So, I was able to make 2 connections for the betterment of their businesses on all sides. And so it's pretty awesome to do that. People really resonate with that because you're not asking for anything. You're just giving. And it actually made me feel incredibly good. I'm not going to get anything out of these relationships, most likely. It's just awesome to watch put the hand in the glove and watch those 2 take off and bloom and to grow into something.
Yeah.
Totally.
Now, having said that, though, if you've given away something, then this goes back to reciprocity, is that it actually creates a better opportunity for you to then make your ask. I hope you follow up with, hey, how did that connection work for you? What happened? Da, da, da. Well, I'm so glad. And so I have an ask for you. I was thinking about what you said. And perhaps you might make a connection for me on this, So that's another way of furthering that relationship in the aftermath of making that connection at an event.
Yes, Debra, you're 100% right. Actually, that actually happened. Andrew connected me with 2 of his buddies who are extremely good connections. Matt, I'll tell you about this off air, but extremely good connections for what Matt and I are going to be doing. And then Andrew offered to do some amazingly cool shit for us, help grow our team. And it was just because I was connecting him with someone that he wanted to know. It's a give and take. And there was a story, I don't know how much time we have, that I was watching on Facebook today about a beggar who, had his food kept being taken away by this mouse. And this mouse said, hey, the universe says you only have 8 items you can ever own. And that's what the Buddha said. So this beggar gets up, goes on his journey to find Buddha and ask him questions. Long story short, goes to the first house. He works all night long. He stays at the house of a wealthy person. The wealthy person says, can you ask this question for Buddha? I have a 16-year-old daughter who can't speak. Ask him why. He goes on. Now he finds a wizard. He says, because he comes across these big mountains, and the wizard picks him up and flies him over the mountains and says, hey, I got a question for the Buddha. I've been traveling, listening to all my teachings. I should be, ascend by now, but I'm not there. Ask him why. Goes to this huge river, sees a turtle, and he says, I can't get across the river. The turtle says, I'll take you across, but you're going to go talk to Buddha. Ask him why I have not turned into a dragon, because I've been doing my teachings for 500 years. Goes to Buddha, talks to Buddha. Buddha says, you only have 3 questions. Guy's got 4. So he thinks of the wizard for 1,000, the turtle for 500 years, and this girl who can't speak. So he asks the question, why can't she speak? Why hasn't the wizard ascended? And why hasn't the turtle, become a dragon? Goes back to the turtle, and goes, turtle, you haven't become a dragon because you have to get out of your comfort zone, and you have to shed your shell. And so the turtle gets out of his shell, and beneath the shell were these priceless pearls from the depths of the ocean. The turtle gives the jewels to the boy, and he ascends into a dragon and flies away. Goes to the wizard and goes, wizard, you've got to drop your staff, and then you'll become, you'll ascend. So the boy gets the staff. Now he has knowledge, he has power, and he has riches. Goes back to the house of the daughter, 16 years old. And he says the answer for why your daughter hasn't spoken yet is because she hasn't found her true love. At that moment, the girl walks down the stairs. She speaks. They found their true love. So the point is, if you guys are going to grow into something new and different, if you're going to get into situations that are uncomfortable, you have to go and do things you've never done before, and being able to give without looking for anything in return, like that boy did in the story. You'll be given power and knowledge and the love of your life, so to speak, because you gave without asking. And I thought that was a tremendously powerful story, because a lot of people focus on what they want out of a networking, not what you can give. Right. The power there.
We all know that's a great story, Greg, because we all know what it's like when when we feel that people are just trying to get from us, rather than, wait a minute, how can this be reciprocal? How can we help each other out and develop more of that collaboration? And that's where, going back to our PCI, that's where we talk about intent, being intentional and being purpose, clarity, intention, having intention.
Yeah. RNA is watching, says, Greg, I don't know how much time we have, but I'm going to tell the story anyway. That's true. It's a good thing we had 20 minutes for that, because that was a long one. But it reminds me of so James Colburn, who was on the show last week, or maybe the week before, told us to go get this book. It's Blue Fishing by Steve Sims. This is a great book so far, and he's talking about how to get extraordinary things accomplished, right? So, I mean, we're talking about somebody that got a random person to be able to sing on stage with Journey, right? And just a bunch of random stuff. It's a great book so far. But he says the point is to find out what the other person is excited about, listen to what matters to them, and show them how helping you benefits them, which I thought was really good, because most of us we're not walking into networking events where we're meeting with, bona fide international celebrities, movie stars, the richest people in the world. This guy is doing stuff like that, and like going after people that really, like, they don't have a whole lot of incentive. Like, he got Andrea Bocelli to come sing for some random dude at a museum on 2 days' notice. Well, how'd he do it? Well, he called up their camp and he figured out what might make an impact to them, which was they have a charity foundation. He managed to do something and turn that into a situation where everybody won. And he got Andrea Bocelli to come sing on 2 days' notice. So anyway, it's very, very interesting stuff.
Andre Bonicelli in 2 days' notice, that's a feat. I mean, that would be awesome.
That would be, yeah. May I share another book too that I was referred to, and it's pretty exciting. It's called The Miracle Morning. Anybody hear of that? By Hal Elrod. It's a way of sort of redefining, again,
Right.
your clarity and intention, and by setting up a routine of how you conduct yourself and how you can get something done in key areas of your life every day of the week. And it talks about just how it changed profoundly the lives of people. And so I share that with you. It's been a great read and something I'm putting to use.
Can you share that book one more time? Can you put it up there? I missed it for half a second there. Oh, The Morning Miracle. Yeah, check it out. I love that book, and I have the printout right next to me that I'm
Okay.
working on, that I'm working through. I think reading is one of those things that a lot of times people they neglect. And the old saying, leaders are readers. And people who don't spend the time to really sit there and become better, smarter about certain things, I think they're missing out on a huge world of knowledge and fun and good in depth and intelligent conversations. Guys, if you pick, Deborah, I heard this. I call it the asphalt university. But if you were to pick one subject for 1 year and do nothing but listen to every book you could possibly get your hand on or read, whatever you like to do, on that one subject matter, in 1 year, you have the equivalent of a PhD in that one area of life. Because if you commute 25 minutes to work and 25 minutes from work, and guys, we're real estate agents, we're always in the car, so we can triple down on this thing, but constantly be listening, work out while you're listening. Imagine how much smarter you're going to be in 12 months. We're in December of 2017 as of this recording. Where are you going to be November 17th of 2018? What are you going to have gained knowledge-wise to make you a better human being, to make you be more attractive to either the other sex or the same sex, whichever you swing? Business, your kids, your spouse. How are you going to be more attractive to the people around you? To me, by knowledge. Bill Gates was asked, what's the one thing you wish you could do better? Wish I could read faster. That was his one thing. And I think one of the richest men in the world. It kind of tells you where reading will take you.
Yeah. Well, I'll share with you a quick story too. Dr. John DeMartini, and very interesting because he had a reading disorder as he was growing up, a learning disorder, and so he actually did not learn how to read. Dropped out of high school. Actually became a drug addict. Ended up on the shores of Hawaii, and fortunately, someone from Wayne Dyer's camp found him asleep and passed out on the beach. And that moment when he was 18 changed his life and, introduced him and influenced him in ways that were remarkable. And what he was able to do was to, when he went back and got his GED, but he then worked on his reading skills so that he did become a speed reader. And what he does is that he, like you were talking about, Greg, is, the equivalent of a PhD. He actually does have a doctorate degree. Yet what he does, he's read hundreds of books, and after he reads the book, then he goes out and speaks on that book, and so he was really knowledgeable in many, many ways, and he reads in order to give back knowledge to people and to help them learn from the things that he's learned, and so he totally turned around his life by becoming a master of reading, and now I think he's written some 40 books in his lifetime.
That's impressive. Something I'm trying right now is I'm doing it with the Prosperous Coach book. I've read it 4 times now. Now I'm playing it at night as I sleep to let it soak into my subconscious, which I don't know if it's working yet, but we'll see.
It can't not work.
Well, and that actually raises a point because a lot of us can know, we have head knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And we get that by reading. But it's a whole nother story to take what we know and actually put it to use in how we behave. There's oftentimes a disconnect between what we know and how we behave. And go back to my percentages earlier, 55% of how we communicate is by what we see, behaviors, body language. 38% is tone, volume, inflection. So you can say, oh yeah, I believe in this or I do this. But do you really? Does it really come through in your behavior? And particularly when we talk about being authentic and sincere, and compassionate, and clear, and intentional. So it's a bit of a challenge for a lot of people.
Yeah. Challenge for all of us. That's right. Greg, any final thoughts on that before we bring in the evil bald ninja, the Volpinator himself?
I just want to hear the evil ninja talk. I missed him. Hi, Baldy.
Except he can't talk. Apparently, he has not rigged up his microphone correctly. Gotta get on your game here, Gene. Come on. There. There we go. Okay.
There's
Now
a
we
button
can
on
hear
here.
you.
It says on off. It's weird.
Yeah, it's interesting how that works that way.
Apparently.
What have
Hi,
you get?
Deborah. How are you?
Hi, very good. How are you?
Good.
So-
Well, wait, listen, Matt, I'm sorry, man. My head hurts. I'm not going to lie to you. That whole deaf turtle story I just heard, that was like, what was going on? Oh, my God.
And I invited you on. Why? I'm getting browbeat by the guy I talked into coming on the show. This fucking blows.
I'm sorry. You know I had to do it.
Oh, it wasn't a blind turtle, by the way, dickhead. Get the story right.
Deaf. It was deaf turtle. Yeah, the turtle was deaf. The turtle was deaf and ended up marrying the dude, and they had some sort of relationship. I don't know, something like that. Anyway, Gene, what have you got for us today? It's going to be hard for you to top. I think Greg has thrown out like 3 tech or social media tips today already. So what have you got for us?
That's what you get.
I saw them and I wrote them all down. So and now that they're recommended by Greg, I throw that piece of paper right in the trash. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my God, tough crowd.
I have a layup today. I just got a layup. I didn't want to, I didn't want to jump in and break the flow of this because Debra was giving some great stuff. I love networking. You guys probably know that from my personality, talking to people and helping connect. That's my wife will tell you I talk to people way too much. But this was a layup. This is called buffer.com. And if you guys know what Buffer is, it's sort of like a Hootsuite. It helps, and it's a quick one too. It helps you schedule and set up your social media for your teams across multiple platforms. It's got analytics. You could pay. You get the free service if you want, and you can get the big service if you want to go further in and share it with team members. But it's something that I know that a couple real estate agents use, and it works well. For their social media. There's a lot of it pushes posting out to a lot of different sites, Pinterest, Tumblr, Google+, maybe not Tumblr, Google+, Facebook, Twitter. So it's just another alternative for the folks that are looking to get some stuff automated for their teams, and it's a nice little tool.
Very awesome. And you know what, Paul Franklin in the comments down here, Gene, he is writing your little jingle.com. He already wrote it down there.
I love that. I love it.
Oh my God. All right, so let's finish up with this. Debra, how do people connect with you and kind of get into your world, learn more about what you do, you see when and where you're gonna speak, and all that good stuff?
Great. Yeah, you certainly can find me on Facebook, Dr. Debra Dupree, mediation, coaching, and speaking. And we post all of our events there and starting to do some Facebook Live things as well. And also visit my website because we've got a lot of good stuff there, some free downloads, some access to some past recordings, podcasts. I have my own bi-weekly podcast on a lot of different topics that affect us in working at home. And my website is www.relationships-at-work.com. Love to have you join us and pick up on some of the freebies I have to offer.
Very cool, and they're all good because I have some of them, and you should all get all of them. Gene, how about you? Besides the jingle, which we love it.
That's it. Just Facebook.com/Gene Volpe, Gene Volpe Media, and remember, kids, people don't care what you know until they know that you care.
I'm waiting for G.I. Joe in there somewhere.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was a very valid statement said in an extremely creepy way.
Perfect.
Oh man, at least I'm hitting them back.
For us, if you would like to talk to Greg, do not waste his time. Coaching is $9.96 a month, and so if you would like to be coached personally by Gregory himself, so Greg, you specialize. I'm gonna pitch you because you do a horrible job of it yourself, as we both do.
Make me look good, homie. Make me look good.
Okay. Greg is, as I have heard from some of the best coaches and from multiple industries, not just real estate, Greg is the master when it comes to outbound prospecting and scripting. Like the people that I've run across that have actually seen your live prospecting, Greg, are absolutely blown away and cannot believe like how natural and unscripted and smooth you are. So guys, if you want to make that part of your out, like if you want to make that part of your lead generation plan and you need help with scripting, phrasing, tonality, persuasion, anything like that, as well as hitting your performance and activity goals so that you actually have more conversations that convert, Greg is the man to talk to and get coached by on that. So I just wanted to throw that out there because Greg, you won't, like, it sounds douchey coming from you if you were to say that, but like, I'm just telling you, like, I've run across some extremely high level people that have watched your prospecting because of our connection and the work that we're doing and stuff like that, and they're to a man, they're all blown away by it.
Seriously? That's the first time I'm hearing about this.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I appreciate it, and so now Matt tooted my horn, so I'll toot his. On weird way ever.
And the show ends.
And we're gone. And
That's right.
No, guys. So he helped me make me sound good. So I'm gonna help you help Matt sound good. Like, if you guys are looking for systems and tactics, to help really get your system up, your business up and going in a short amount of time, and you don't know what system or how to get it going, guys, Matt is the best I've ever seen when systematizing your real estate business. You won't like everything he's going to tell you, but that's what a coach does. I don't like what he tells me 90% of the time, but I just fucking grin and bear it because I want to go 10 different directions at once. He corrals me, puts me down the right path, but he will do that for you guys because we are the shiny syndrome kids of 2017. We're the real estate agents. We want everything that doesn't give us instant gratification. We're moving on a different direction, but you have to give it time, and Matt will give you that direction, and he will rein you in, take you from that ball of goo that you are and form you into something that people can actually recognize, like a professional human being. So go to bookjohnson.com, not Book a Big Johnson. Remember, that's a bad site. Go to bookjohnson.com, and you guys can get time with him on his calendar.
And for Greg, it's the same, bookmcdaniel.com. And then remember to subscribe, share the show, guys. As you can, you guys have probably seen, we don't do a lot of advertising. We'll do it at some point, but the show is growing because you guys share it. That's the bottom line. You guys share it. You guys tell people about it. You tell your office about it. You share it on Facebook. Like when you see the notifications, you guys are sharing it on your own personal Facebook pages. We absolutely love that. And we love you guys for doing that. We love that you guys leave reviews for us on iTunes, like all the cool stuff that you guys do to help grow the show and put it in front of more people. We just really appreciate it. And I think that's all I've got to say on that.
Well, as always, Deborah, you've blown my mind. Gene, you've insulted me. This is a complete show.
That's right.
But until next time, guys, know that we love you. We care for you. We do this show for you to watch you grow and bloom into the agent and the human that you desperately need. But sometimes not all of us can afford the top-rated coaching. That's why we bring them to you here on the show. All right, guys, until next time, peace out, ninjas. We gone.